Hey guys, Simon here from Wild Earth, and today I'm here to talk to you about the new and improved Big Agnes Copper Spur Ultralight 3-man. Now, I've been using a version of the Copper Spur tent for the last few years and been absolutely loving it. So I'm super excited about some of these features. One of them is a pretty big update, and I will get to that in just a second. But first, there are actually a few updates to the bag itself. So the storage bag itself has actually changed for this year and been updated. You might be able to see here that we've got these two kind of compression straps on the outside of the bag. This means that the bag now opens up kind of lengthways, opens up nice and wide, really easy to get the tent in and out of the bag, and then you can clip it up and crank it down with those compression straps as well. So even if you maybe don't roll it quite as well to get it into the bag, you can then still cinch it down to kind of a smaller pack down size as well. So that's a nice little feature. One other update to this bag, which might seem like a simple little thing, but I think it will actually be really useful, is the fact that the tent peg bag is actually now sewn on into the inside of the bag. So just on the bottom there of the inside, that's where all your guy ropes are and all your tent pegs. And I know from my experience, the first thing to go missing in regards to kind of packaging for your tent would be that tiny little tent bag. So the fact that it's sewn into the main bag now means it's not going to go missing, and you're going to know exactly where your pegs are when you need them. So a nice little update. Before we get into some of those bigger updates, I'll show you a couple of different ways you can set this tent up. Firstly, let's talk about this tent footprint. Now, these often aren't included with the original purchase of a tent. However, they are pretty invaluable. This footprint for the Copper Spur is made of a 30 denier nylon, so that is a bit tougher than the nylon on the base of the tent itself. So with these, you want to be putting one of these down first to protect the bottom of the tent, and it can also help keep the bottom of the tent dry. Often you'll wake up in the morning and take down your tent and find that the footprint that's been touching the ground will be a bit wet, just to kind of morning dew and dampness. But then the bottom of your tent itself won't actually be wet, so it makes it super easy to put it away after sleeping in it. There's also a benefit to this as well if you fancy putting the tent up fly first or just fly only. And let me show you how that works. So first, we'll put the tent up fly only using the footprint as the base. You might want to do this if you're trying to reduce the pack weight down. So I think for the fly, the poles and the ground sheet, you're talking more like a 1.2 kilos, saving about 500 grams off the full weight of the tent. It's also a great option if you feel like you want to make a temporary rain shelter whilst out on a kind of a wet hike. Or it is even possible to do the fly first and then put the body of the tent up after the fact. And then that way you won't get the body of your tent so wet once you put it up. But first, all we're going to do is lay out the footprint and then peg down each of the corners. So you'll find the footprint has the same clips and rivets on the webbing on the end of each corner, just the same as you'd find in the base of the tent. So that's what you're going to use to put up the fly and put the poles into. So next up, we're going to put the poles into the footprint. These are the same DAC poles from all the previous Copper Spurs, so super lightweight, super strong, and kind of pre-attached using those bungees, so they snap into place super quick and easy. And the corners of the footprint are actually color coordinated exactly the same way as you would find on the main body of the tent itself. So grey ends of the poles going into the grey pieces of webbing and the red ends going into the orange ends. So again, like exactly the same in the main tent itself. Definitely one of those things that is easier with two of you, but certainly possible just on your own. So I found the easiest way to do it like this, fly only, is actually to put the crossbar in after the fact once you've put the fly over. So now we're going to throw the fly over, which again is color coordinated, grey webbing from the fly to the corners with the grey webbing on the footprint. Then clip that in. So from inside with just the fly up, I think the easiest way to say attach these little Velcro pieces here is to do it from the inside. So we're just going to attach this round the pole here, and we're going to do that on each side just to make sure the fly does stay in place. And like I mentioned earlier, I think the easiest way to put this cross piece in is actually from within inside the tent. You can actually just slide it across, right? This is just going to give the whole thing a bit more rigidity. Kind of slide it into place like that, and you can see just here on either side of the tent there's this little kind of plastic piece where the end of the pole just goes inside, and this is actually a piece that's been redesigned for this year. And same with this one here on the other side, just going to need to pull that and make sure that fits in there. give the tent a little bit more rigidity. So once it's properly pegged out, you've got yourself a nice lightweight waterproof shelter. Now, as I mentioned, it is possible to put the body of the tent up after the fact, after you've done the fly first, which could be really useful if it was raining a lot. It is a little bit fiddly, but it's definitely doable. So you've got the same eyelet on the end of the tent pole here, and the easiest way to do this if you're doing it fly first is just to put this actually underneath the tent pole there. So you can put it through that same hole. And then you can do that on every side. And then after that, you're gonna have to go around and clip on these orange things onto the poles, which again isn't super difficult if you're doing it from kind of an open door side. And then you'll just do that all the way around, and you'll have your inside of your tent put up as well. But I don't think that's necessarily the way you're going to use it. Most of the time you'll be putting your footprint down and then this on top, so we'll set it up like that. So realistically, this is probably more likely how you're going to set up the tent at first in most circumstances. You're going to put the footprint on the ground and then put the tent body on top of the footprint. And the setup really is exactly the same as it would be if you were going directly into the footprint itself. You put the color coordinated ends of the poles into the eyelet at the end of the color coordinated webbing on the tent itself. Now you can also put it through the eyelet of the footprint just to stop that footprint moving around. But there is a little bit of a quirk with that I haven't quite got to the bottom of, but I'll show you that in just a second. And then the crossbar goes over the top really easily as well. This is a loose piece, separate from the rest of the poles, but you simply lay it across, hook on this orange hook in the middle, which will kind of keep the tension and keep it on. And then you're just going to put these little rubberized clips on the end as well. Now these little connectors for the crossbar have also been redesigned for the new version of the tent. And I never had a problem with the old ones, but I could see how they may have broken over time. It was essentially like a plastic piece that worked as like a ball and socket joint that clipped on the end. And I don't know if that had happened to people where, like, say if you accidentally stood on it or something, you could crack it and then it would be pretty detrimental to the tent design. But this feels really robust. It's a good kind of rubberized plastic, seems tough, not going to break it if you stand on it. And also well designed, thoughtfully designed here with a nice kind of cylindrical piece in the middle, meaning you can grab it nicely, get a good grip on it to pull it over and tension it over the tent. That's also been redesigned on the inside of the fly rather than that fabric pocket that used to slide over the whole piece. It's now a similar piece made of the same material as this that goes on the end there. And then from there, we can throw the fly over the top. This again is another option if you know it's not going to rain overnight and you just want to get nice and ventilated, but just keep the bugs out. Perfect way to set up the tent. That quirk I was talking about, when you do fly only, you're going to put your footprint down and peg out the footprint as tight as you can. But then if you have your footprint pegged out as tight as you can and try and put the body of the tent on top and then the poles into both the eyelets on the tent and the footprint, you're going to find you're not going to be able to do that. There's going to be too much tension because these bits of webbing on the footprint are actually longer than the ones on the tent itself. So realistically, you're probably just going to lay the footprint down and then set the tent up on top of the footprint, really pegging out the tent itself, and then definitely prioritizing the eyelets on the webbing on the tent body. That's going to leave you with a bit of slack if you then choose to put it through the footprint as well. But I mean, that is going to stop the footprint sliding around. And it seems a bit weird, it seems strange that they're not kind of perfectly matched up. But from the research I've done, it seems that Big Agnes actually suggests that the eyelets and the clips on the webbing on the footprint are only to be used when you're setting up fly only or fly first. And then when you're setting up like this, that you don't really need to use these at all. But personally, I'd probably pop them underneath the pole or peg them out in some way just to stop it moving around throughout the night. I always find the easiest thing to do when putting the fly over the top of the main body of the tent is to first line up the crossbar with these little pockets. Again, that's that redesigned, tougher rubberized little pocket that goes on the end of the crossbar. Put that on both sides and then you're perfectly lined up. And then all you need to do is go through and put the Velcro on the poles, clip it in, peg it down and tighten it up. So one thing I have always noticed with the Copper Spur range in general, and it hasn't changed on this tent, it's just the way the poles kind of sit in this triangle on the top. If you don't do the tent up kind of really taut, you are going to end up with a little puddle of water just in the top here overnight if it rains. And then you might find yourself having to like push that off in the middle of the night because it will cause it to sag. So just make sure when you set the tent up, you peg it down really well and you give everything a nice tighten, and then you won't get that issue. Now, in regards to performance with any Big Agnes tent, I've never had an issue, especially with the Copper Spurs that I've used. If they're set up properly, they are designed so well that there is really no way that the fly will interfere with the interior body of the tent, keeping everything nice and waterproof. It's so taut, water will just run off. And this year there has been a big update, and if it lives up to its expectations, It is super exciting. Big Agnes have come up with a proprietary fabric called Hyperbead. And Hyperbead promises some pretty exciting stuff. It's meant to be 6% lighter, 50 to 100% stronger, and 25% more waterproof than other waterproof tent fabrics. So what Big Agnes have done here is that they've set out to create a fabric that is PFAS free, but also incredibly waterproof and durable. And from the sounds of things, they've done an incredible job. Hyperbead fabric is meant to be waterproof at the molecular level, meaning it doesn't rely on any DWR coatings, and it will never need to be retreated. It will just stay waterproof for its whole life. Now, obviously, so far this tent has been more than good enough. It's been super waterproof. I don't know what it will be like in the future, but if it lives up to that promise, that is a huge reason to buy Big Agnes tents and a huge reason to try Hyperbead in some of their ultralight tents. Now for some weight and size specs. As mentioned, this is the ultralight 3-man Copper Spur, and it has a total weight of 1.72 kilos. That's probably most likely the weight you're going to be taking with you out on a hike. However, the trail weight takes it down to 1.52 k. That means you're getting rid of a few of the extras, maybe the bags and some of the extra pegs. And it also has a fast fly weight of about 1.2 kilograms. So that's if you're taking just the footprint and the fly and the poles. The footprint itself is about 207 grams and made out of that 30 denier fabric. The tent is 178 centimeters or 70 inches wide on the head end and 152 centimeters or 62 inches on the foot end. The tent is 229 centimeters long and 109 centimeters at full height. It's made of a mixture of 15 denier nylon with 20D solution dyed ripstop. And of course, like most backcountry tents, it does have fully taped seams. And new for this year, this tent includes Big Agnes's proprietary waterproof fabric, Hyperbead. So that's it for the setup and the specs, but there are definitely a good few features that are worth showing you on the inside too. Firstly, on the door on the outside here, we have a couple of toggles here so we can roll the door up and keep it nice and secure. We also have the same thing down here, so you can do the door out to the side as well. As you can see, the inside of the tent here is pretty spacious. Obviously this is a 3-man tent, so if there was 3 of you in here, it would be pretty tight, but that's because it's a backcountry lightweight tent, and that is really often the way. If there's 3 of you in here, you're going to be kind of shoulder to shoulder. But what you might find is what you want to do is actually buy a 3-man tent for 2 of you. If you don't mind carrying the extra little bit of weight, you're going to get a bit of extra space. But I would certainly use this for 3 people. And as you can see here as well, I've got a fair amount of headroom still. So I'm sat up here and I'm about 6 foot tall. And I could definitely sit up here and have a few of us sat in here playing cards and just getting out of the rain or reading books if that's what you needed to do. So plenty of room for that. And it is really nice just having that little bit of extra headroom. We've also got some really good kind of storage options inside the tent here. Like just in front of me here, I've got this really nice big gear storage overhead. The nice thing about that is you can be kind of lying down and then just throw stuff straight into there. It's absolutely massive. So that's a great place to be able to just store layers and store things you're going to take off at the night, and you don't want them on the ground in case they do happen to get wet in some way, or you don't want to be sleeping on top of them. On the opposite side of the tent here as well, we have another piece of storage there, a little bit smaller but plenty of room. And then also on the side here, we do have these kind of quick access pockets, which are perfect for kind of keeping your phone in or a head torch or things you might need quick access to in the middle of the night. One of the kind of smaller details of this tent that I've always really liked is actually this little door keeper. You might be able to see this small piece of red fabric here on the side. And the idea of that is I can just pop the tent door in there temporarily just to keep it out of the way whilst I'm getting in and out. And it means I don't have to bother kind of rolling this up and using one of those toggles. I can just do that. Now, I think those things are great. And I don't know if it would be possible to put one of these on the fly on the outside. But if it was, I think that would be an awesome place to have one, because if you've ever got in and out of a tent when it's wet, you've got that kind of wet, sticky door to get by, and you might throw it to the side and then it kind of sticks to the side of the tent and then it falls back down as you get in. But if they were able to stitch something like that on the outside fly to tuck that fly door into, that would be ideal. I just wonder if they don't want to be putting kind of thread holes through the fly. Maybe that's why, but there you go, Big Agnes. That's a free idea on me. Pop one of those on the fly on the outside. I've also got a great amount of space in the vestibule here. Perfect place to put my boots, and we've got that on both sides as well. So some of you can get in from one end, leave your boots there, some in from this side. So you might notice on the inside of the tent as well, you've got a lot of these kind of little loops of fabric stitched in around the roof. So using these, you can actually add on extra gear lofts from Big Agnes. You can even add in their Mountain Glow kind of lights that will string in between all of those. So a great little option if you do feel like you need to add a little bit more storage. So there we have it. That is the Big Agnes Copper Spur Ultralight 3-man. The Copper Spur tents were already a range of tents that were fantastically designed, and now it is even more improved, especially with that hyperbead fabric technology. So pop on down to a Wild Earth store and go and check it out, the Big Agnes Copper Spur Ultralight 3.